Hello and welcome to Instant Transmission, a podcast where we discuss everything Dragon Ball and everyone's weird obsession with eating Dragon Balls. Tonight, we're going back in time to visit the first Dragon Ball movie ever produced. Cleanse your curses and prepare to have your rubies ruffled, because tonight we're covering Dragon Ball's Curse of the Blood Rubies. I'm your host, Dayton, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Todd.
Hi.
Tonight's episode will be even more of our thoughts and opinions, this time covering the 1986 movie release called Dragon Ball Curse of the Blood Rubies. This movie is slightly different from a lot of the Dragon Ball Z movies that we were covering, in that it's kind of a retelling of the initial Dragon Ball plot, but with some modifications. According to the Dragon Ball Wiki, this movie might also be the origin of the sky turning dark when Shenron is summoned. However, that was never officially confirmed by Toriyama. And with all that covered, was there anything you wanted to add before we got things started, Todd?
No, I think we can dive right into the content of this guy.
All right. Well, this movie begins with a narrator describing the forging of the Dragon Balls from the fires of the Earth's core. Did you catch that?
Yeah, the thing I'll say about that is that we both watched the dub version, and so I have a feeling there might be some dubisms in here.
Yeah, definitely. That was my first catch, so I'm not going to read too deeply into that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty goofy one. It's like a little just retelling of like the Dragon Balls and how they summon Shenron and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty brief, and then it goes into our groovy Dragon Ball intro, and from there we get our first real scene, which is of this poor little village being bulldozed over by some ruthless soldiers who are brutalizing the local peasants as they talk about the blood rubies that they're after.
Yeah. There's like a young girl who kind of stands up to them, like hits them with a slingshot. There's, I think, her dad, who is a farmer, who protects his daughter and then gets beat up by a bigger guy on the army. But this is kind of like the primary conflict as we kind of see the bad guys head back to their castle, where apparently the king, who used to be an okay guy, is now like a tyrant who only cares about harvesting these blood rubies.
Yeah, and he's like this, I don't know, big lizard looking guy who's kind of not fully revealed as he sits in the shadows, and he talks about how hungry he is, and he has this insatiable hunger that he just can't deal with. And so he's tasked his henchmen with tracking down the Dragon Balls so that way he can wish away the hunger. And so far, he's gathered 5 of them, and they're on their way to the 6th.
I gotta say, I love that the bad guys here have a symbol on their uniforms that's just like a bat with a fork underneath it.
He's hungry. He's bat hungry.
Yeah, he's bat hungry.
Well, we get our first shot of our heroes as we see a young Goku. And this voice, it's not the traditional young Goku that I'm used to from the original Dragon Ball series. This is being done by Colleen Klinkenbeard. I'm assuming I said that right. Who did young Gohan for DBZ Kai and young Gohan for a lot of the video games. He also did young Goku in Dragon Ball Super and Kai. So this is a voice that I've kind of heard in places a lot, but I had to look this up because I had to figure out where I had heard this voice.
Yeah, it really threw me off for a minute, and I was like, I'm glad you looked it up, because I meant to check who was doing it, but it was not the voice that I was expecting to hear from young Goku.
Yeah, you kind of have this idea in your head of what you're going to get, and like, not that there's anything wrong with her voice acting, it's just I was really caught off guard in this one, so I had to stop everything I was doing and figure out, like, if it was just a random voice, I probably would have been okay with just going on with it, but I'd heard this voice before, and so it really threw me through a loop.
Right, yeah. And yeah, she does a fine job as Goku. We kind of get Goku hunting a fish, or fishing in his own weird way, as he karate kicks the fish out of the water, and then Bulma showing up on the scene on her bike, and as we know from the original Dragon Ball story, running Goku over.
Yeah, she runs over a child, and then when the child doesn't die, she pulls out a gun and shoots them. It's not exactly an introduction that, I don't know, that I would consider kid-friendly.
Certainly not for our kid Goku, as Bulma even shoots him in the head and is like, "Why aren't you dead yet?"
My God. Yeah, so we basically get the traditional introduction of the two, just a little bit more economic. It happens pretty quick. But while this is happening, we see this ominous plane flying overhead. And Bulma quickly puts together that someone's after the Dragon Ball that she's after. And so the two make their way back to Goku's little humble mountain home as fast as they can. But they find that the 4-star ball is already missing, and there's a coin sitting in its place where the Dragon Ball had once sat.
The coin does have the bat with the fork on it, which I appreciate. But they do kind of catch a plane, for lack of a better word, flying away from Goku's little hut. And they're like, well, Balma is basically like, well, we need to go after them. She pulls out a capsule, which creates her own plane. And this turns into a bit of a in the sky dogfight between these two.
You know, I did not expect Bulma's plane to have like guns on it.
Same.
And so when the bad guys shoot at her, I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen to her heroes? I did not expect Bulma to like dive down into the tree line and come up with guns and start blasting at the villains. And she even hits some shots. Like she fires some holes straight through their jet plane.
Yeah, I truly was not expecting this either, but it kind of turns into we basically got like two primary henchmen, I'll say, like the one big muscled guy, and then there's a red-haired woman who seems to be like, I mean, she's just good at her job. She's proficient with weapons.
Her name is Pasta. That stood out to me.
Hey, good call. I did not catch their names. Pasta fires off a rocket from a rocket launcher at Bulma and Goku's plane, fully blowing it up. Presumably our heroes, I don't know, used an ejector seat or something, because they are falling out of the sky unblown up.
Goku I would buy, considering he's bulletproof, but how Bulma got out of there, I will never know.
It is truly a mystery. But it does result in Goku and Bulma falling through the sky. Goku uses his power pole to catch Bulma, basically like pinning her to the mountainside, and Goku falls safely into a river from hundreds of feet in the sky.
And if it sounds like we're going through things very quickly, it's because this movie is going through things very quickly. It's kind of hitting plot point after plot point after plot point. It's really not slowing down.
Yeah, it's and I'll be honest, especially because it's retelling the original arc, like the Pilaf arc in Dragon Ball. I'm glad that it goes through it quickly. It does not waste our time here. And it kind of shifts over now to, oh shoot, I don't remember what the little girl's name is. There is
Pansy.
Pansy, thank you. I did not get the names down well for this movie.
I got it by the end of the movie.
Yeah, there you go. So Pansy, the young girl that we saw earlier, she is kind of like wandering through the forest. We find out that she's looking for, specifically traveling to find the powerful Master Roshi, who she believes can help save her village. But she runs into a big, scary monster, this big demon-looking thing, who is terrorizing her when Goku and Bulma show up on the scene.
And I'm not going to lie, I didn't pick out who this character was immediately, because Goku kind of jumps into the middle of this altercation between Pansy and the pig demon. And then once the pig demon transforms into a giant robot, it finally dawned on me that this giant robot has a big cup of hot soup or something like that, and he burns himself on it, which is exactly what happens in the anime series. So I'm glad they actually have that same homage. But this giant robot challenges Goku's strength, asking him to knock over a tree, which Goku does. And seeing this feat of strength, the robot then transforms into a bat, flees through the woods. Goku tracks it down and gives him a good old taste of the power pole. And this knocks the bat into the familiar face of Oolong, who is now in his normal pig form.
I gotta say, the anime, I think, spends an entire episode on Oolong, and this covers the Oolong stuff in probably like 3 minutes, and I like it better.
I like how economic it was, because it knows the anime exists, right? Like, it's not going to surprise you here. You've already seen this. So I like that. Like you said, it's very respectful over time.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. This kind of moves us to
I will say it makes it a little tough for us to give our thoughts and opinions when we are just recapping at this point.
that's a good point. Yeah, it's well, we'll probably talk about the whole thing as a whole once we get to the tail end
There will be a
here,
lot more to
but
talk about the further we get into this, though.
yeah, because this kind of moves to truly our next scene that probably would be present in the anime, which is they're kind of in a desert wasteland area. They did not mean to be here, but Oolong seems to be afraid because this is bandit Yamcha territory, and Yamcha starts firing on them with a gun, and then just hops down like, "Hey, give me a stuff."
Yeah, and I forgot that Yamcha actually uses a sword at this point in his fighting career, which is badass. I love it when people use weapons. So Yamcha unsheaths his kick-ass sword or scimitar or whatever you want to call it. Goku pulls out his power pole. So we've got weapon on weapon fighting, which is also one of my favorite things. It's so rare, but I love it when it happens. And the two start exchanging blows. Like Yamcha goes in the attack, Goku's deflecting back and forth. Until Goku's finally kind of pushed back and runs up like this big, I don't know if you want to call it like a rock face. And then he himself goes on the attack, and Yamcha's forced to do an overhead block where Goku flips over him and then drops down and extends his power pole into Yamcha's stomach. Like, it's a brief little fight scene, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. As per usual, though, Yamcha gets the shaft, and he does though pull off his Wolf Fang fist. It's kind of, we've seen better renditions of the Wolf Fang fist. If I'm going to be honest,
it's not great, especially, and we'll definitely be talking about this later. When you know Path to Power exists, you know how good things could be.
Yes, 100%. But this plays out very much like the anime. Goku is hungry. He's struggling in the fight against Yamcha. Goku gets to do his Jongkenpon or rock paper scissors technique, and this results in Bulma showing up on the scene, and Yamcha is he's afraid of women, so he dips out.
Yeah, it's the old gag. I don't have anything else to really say about it. But Yamcha's out. Our heroes kind of reconvene with the young pansy. And this is where she goes over the fact that she needs Master Roshi to come save her home. And she reveals that the Blood Rubies have corrupted the king. So he wasn't always evil, but these rubies have done it. And that's why he destroyed her home. But Yamcha's listening to the story the whole time. He's creeping outside, and he decides that he's going to slide into the middle of the situation to get himself the Dragon Balls, so that way he can wish away his shyness of women.
Yeah, again, we're pretty much following mostly outside of Pansy and the Blood Ruby stuff. This is pretty much beat for beat from the anime, just in a very condensed format, because even next there's not much of a journey. They basically just show up at Master Roshi's house.
It wasn't even really that far. It was like one loading screen. My God. Yeah, and so they arrive at Kame House. Master Roshi's been misinformed by Yamcha that Goku and the gang are actually the villains and that they're there to steal his shell, to which our heroes deny. And Roshi decides that to figure out who's telling the truth, he's going to summon the Nimbus, and whoever can stand on it is truthful. And so we get the old gag of the Nimbus shows up. Roshi goes to jump on it and falls straight through, his heart not being so pure. And then Goku jumps on there and goes off for a ride immediately. So yeah, Goku's got the Nimbus. Yamcha flees the island. And we've got like 3 episodes crammed into about a 2-minute scene.
Truly, yeah. They collect the Dragon Ball from Master Roshi, using Master Roshi's pervertedness against him as per usual.
I'm glad I let you tackle that subject, because
we're gonna gloss right over that. And this turns into a fight with this is very clearly has some parallels to, like, well, in my mind, the Red Ribbon. Yeah, exactly. A Red Ribbon Army. But these henchmen of the king, they attack the island. They're using a submarine, and they just launch missiles and rockets out at the island. And they get one of the two Dragon Balls that our heroes have, but their little robots are not able to collect the other, thanks to Oolong of all people.
So Oolong accidentally gets his heroic moment by jumping in the way of one of those robots. So our heroes manage to keep one while the villains grab the other. And Roshi's pissed. Like his house just got bombed. The roof he just got put on got blown off. And so we see him take off his shirt, start channeling Kamehameha Wave, to which he kind of buffs up for. And he fires it off. And it's adequate. Like, because I've seen better looking versions of this scene. It's not great, but it's not bad either. Like I don't know. It gets the job done. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's fine. Like we're watching this, what, 40 years after its release in 1986, and there's been a lot of other Dragon Ball content that's come out since then, particularly, as we said, The Path to Power, which came out 10 years later and is just fantastic.
Gorgeous.
But this is cool. I like Master Roshi. I always like Master Roshi being a badass. Him using the Kamehameha for the first time in quotes, I guess, for this movie. And blowing up the submarine. All the other people around are like, you can't beat a submarine. So it's cool. He, subverts expectations and protects his home.
I just want a little bit more time spent on just the wow factor of the Kamehameha Wave. Like, it felt like it was over a little bit too quickly. But like we said earlier, this is a retelling. So we've already seen this sort of thing happening before. So it gets the job done. Looks all right. Submarine and the army's all blown up, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. I think that pretty much wraps it up, right?
Mostly. The only other thing that I'll mention is that Goku uses the Kamehameha.
That's what I was forgetting. Yep, Master Roshi says it took him 50 years to develop it, and Goku, just by seeing it, is able to fire off a small wave, and we get our transition to the next part of the story with Roshi refusing to help Pansy, but he more or less voluntells Goku to go help Pansy since he has a pure heart and is a capable fighter. So they all get into what I'm assuming is one of Bulma's planes, and they fly towards the king's palace.
Yeah, this will pretty much take us up to our conclusion, or the peak of the action here, the climax, as our heroes arrive at the palace and they are met with the king's army, like a bunch of fighter planes that come out shooting at Bulma and Goku on the Nimbus.
A lot of this feels like Diet Red Ribbon, doesn't it? Like, you get just all the soldiers and just the crazy amount of like tanks and rockets and guns, and it's the Red Ribbon, just a little less. And so it's fine. Like, I like it when Goku's fighting big swaths of enemies, but I also feel like we don't really get that feeling of the manpower crushing our heroes, right? Like, we don't get Goku running through the base, fighting dozens of people and using the power pole to sweep out like an entire squad of legs. There's kind of a fun factor that's missing here that you get with the Red Ribbon stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's like, there was a moment where I was like, the fact that Bulma's plane has not been shot down yet is absurd to me. But whatever. It's supposed to be fun. She does get shot down relatively quickly. And Goku is basically just fighting. I will say, I like the fight, or at least I like the idea of the fight that Goku is having in the sky, because Goku is on the Nimbus cloud, and there's the big brutish henchman who is on this flying disc, hover disc. So they're both kind of like having this fight in the sky, but it's not a full-on flying fight. There's limitations because they're both using devices to fly, which is it's really cool. I like the idea.
And well, I'm going to get a little further into that because I'm right there with you. I think if we would have spent a little bit more time on this fight, I think they could have done some fun stuff, because they exchange a couple blows and then Goku hits the henchman's like flying Segway, basically breaking it and causing him to tumble. But we find out that the henchman's like weapon is like, I don't know, it's like a double-sided club, but he can fire him out. and there's like a chain attached to it. And so he fires it out, it entangles Goku, and he pulls Goku down off the Nimbus with him. I would have loved for this fight to kind of been drawn out a little bit more to see what a weird weapon like that with the flying limitations, like what would that look like? Because I think there's a lot of fun that could have been had with this fight that we kind of just gloss over and just I don't know. Like I'm wanting a little bit more at this point.
I very much agree. I think it would have been cool to see moments of like Goku getting knocked off the Nimbus and getting caught by it, or like Goku even fighting on the guy's flying Segway at one point, like them just fighting on this tiny little platform. There's lots of cool stuff they could have done. Like I think that's why I like the idea, but I feel like it's definitely missing some meat on that bone for sure.
I feel like too much of this movie so far has been spent on recap, and we needed to spend more time on the newer stuff and maybe giving us some fun fights and some fun character experiences, because we're like at the end of the movie now, and there's like we've got to wrap up the whole conclusion within the next like 10-ish minutes at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Some of this is fun, but yeah, it could have used a little bit more breathing room. Because I think one of the next scenes that we see is Yamcha actually flying onto the scene. His little hover bike gets shot down, but he pulls out like a tri-section staff and gets to be a badass for a brief moment as he beats up some of the soldiers and makes his way into the palace.
I had to rewind it just to verify he was doing that, because it's honestly like a 3-second scene of him doing it, and then they're off to the next thing. I was like, oh, well, I didn't realize you could do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun moment. And then we kind of get like, I mean, Yamcha goes in, steals some blood rubies, and then we get Puar and Oolong scaring each other as big monsters as they make their way through the palace. I think Oolong kind of like protecting Balma, and Puar, I mean, I don't know that Puar's protecting Yamcha, but
well, Yamcha's hands are full of blood rubies, so he can't fight himself.
He's occupied.
Yeah. And I mean, both it seems like both of the groups are in there for more or less greed reasons, right? Like I feel like Bulma wants the Dragon Balls and Yamcha wants all the cash. And so it's kind of ironic that both of these greedy groups run into each other in the middle of the palace.
It's true. Bulma does though have Pansy with her, who
That's
Pansy's here to save her village effectively, right? But this turns into, as they run into each other, they are found by one of the bad guys in, I believe it was Pasta, as Pasta fills Yamcha full of lead.
I actually thought this was kind of fun. So she has this machine gun, just pumps all these bullets into Yamcha, who falls over, like slumps over. And you get that brief moment of like, oh my God, they just kill Yamcha. And then as he stands up, you see like the blood rubies pouring out of the bullet holes as like almost as if it's blood. It's kind of a fun little scene here.
I think I like that parallel of like, I mean, Yamcha gets blown away, but they're called blood rubies, right? And they pour out like blood. That's kind of fun. Which results in Yamcha getting up and starting to fight this Pasta soldier, and she's kind of got like a helmet on, so he doesn't get a good look at her. But he does get a wolf fang fist full of boob as he attacks her and pushes her against the wall, and then freaks out because he realizes that he's touching a woman.
Yeah, and that's more or less the end of that fight, as a giant explosion rocks the palace. And everyone just kind of ends up in the same room as the king at this point. Like, I feel like it's just like, we need everyone here. So we're all in the king's room, and the king is now this colossal, purpley, ugly lizard monster thing at this point. And as he turns to step, he crushes the big henchman that Goku had been fighting just right underfoot. And you can tell that the king's kind of losing it. Like, his one eyeball is bigger than the other, and he's not really like talking clearly or making sense. And Goku braces himself against a big, giant, scaly fist that impacts him. Goku barely holds it back before turning and firing off a Kamehameha wave that does nothing to the king. Also, disappointing Kamehameha wave. They need to give it more justice than that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bummer. It's, I don't know. I mean, it's a quick movie, but the Kamehameha does basically nothing. Bulma realizes, though, that this kind of transformed Monster King's belly is glowing, particularly glowing with the light of the Dragon Balls, because the Monster King has eaten all of the Dragon Balls except for the one that Balma has in hand that she throws into the Monster King's gullet.
Yeah. And after the king gulps down this Dragon Ball, she summons Shenron just right out of that bad boy. And I mean, the scene glows with the Shenron light where you zoom out and Shenron summoned. The king is nowhere in sight, and we have a wish to make. And I thought that this was a badass way to take out a villain. I thought this was so cool with an asterisk. We'll find out why later.
It is pretty cool. It's yeah, the visual is interesting. It's hard to say like if he just gets annihilated, but there is truly light that looks like it blasts out of the bad guy. The palace itself looks like it gets utterly destroyed.
Yeah, it's like
As
Shenron's bursting out of it.
yeah, it's a pretty cool visual, to be honest. And the dragon is summoned where Balma and Yamcha in particular are kind of like jockeying to get their wish granted. Balma wanting to wish for a boyfriend, Yamcha wanting to wish to be not afraid of girls, which again parallels the anime perfectly. But Pansy is the one who breaks in and wishes for her village to be peaceful once more.
Yeah, and so the one person with a non-selfish wish actually gets to make the wish, which is how it should be. And we see Shenron grants the wish by removing all the blood rubies from the ground, so that way no one can be cursed by these cursed gems anymore. And we see him kind of fix up the broken landscape a little bit, because it kind of looked like an industrial nightmare. And once he's done, all that's kind of removed. We get the green grass kind of put back. And it seems like more or less everything is put back to normal in this village.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate, because I think that we might have glossed over it, but the movie is called The Curse of the Blood Rubies. The Blood Rubies have literally cursed the king to be insatiably hungry. And that's kind of like the moral of the story here is because he was so greedy in collecting these blood rubies that he was cursed with this insatiable hunger.
Well, thankfully, he got better because he's not dead. And we see like this smaller, like, I don't know, kind of fleshy looking scaly guy crawl out of the rubble. And I mean, he's still hungry, but he's not cursed anymore. And he's offered an apple, which apparently he's never seen.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, I don't know what the implication there is supposed to be. Like, was he so monster brained that he doesn't even recall what an apple is, or is that just a dubism? I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna let that one go, especially because it's a very made up character and a made up story that's not canonical. So I'm not gonna question it. But yeah, King's not dead. I thought it was gonna be like a really cool, badass way to take out an evil guy with the Dragon Balls inside of him and summoning. Nope, none of that matters. But Yamcha and Bulma, they fall in love, and Goku flies off on his Nimbus, and the end.
That's the movie, guys. That's it.
It's a tough one because this movie is like it's 80% recap with 20% like new story jammed in at the end. And I don't mind the recap stuff because it is a pretty cool way to redigest Dragon Ball and kind of get a refresher on the story. But it's not like the animation quality is really a large step up from the original series or anything. They don't explore any more points in any more depth or really add anything new. Like, it's just the majority of this is recap, which is fine. I don't know. I didn't know anything about this movie walking into it, so this was not what I was expecting when I first started watching.
Yeah, I struggle with how I feel about this one because
it's not bad, right? Like, it's not offensive.
No, not at all. There is a part of me that's like, oh well, I can digest the entirety of the Pilaf arc, which I think runs something like 12 or 16 episodes. And I can basically just consume all of that within 50 minutes. It does, of course, have a different villain. We don't have literally the name of the arc. We don't have Pilaf in this at all. He's replaced with this Blood Ruby King. We also don't get the Ozaru transformation, which would
Oh,
be,
yeah, that's a big deal, isn't it?
I guess the reason I bring it up is that if you were going to watch this in place of the Pilaf arc, you would be missing that beat, which would be very important moving forward.
And this movie doesn't feel maybe as necessary as some of the other movies that covered like anime series material, right? Like with the Battle of the Gods movie, I think that is just a strictly better way of consuming that content. I don't think this is, because the 13 leading episodes in Dragon Ball, they're not bad. It's actually a fun little watch. It's a nice little self-contained story that moves along pretty quickly. I don't really need this super condensed storytelling, because it's 13 episodes that aren't really that fillery at all, actually. So this movie isn't entirely necessary, kind of like how I feel like Battle of Gods might actually be necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I keep pointing out that this is like a quick and condensed way to consume that content. But you're right that the first Dragon Ball arc, the Pilaf arc, doesn't really have any filler in it. It's definitely slower paced. And I think that that's more notable in the year 2026, when we're so used to like fast content and getting that like gratification immediately.
I need to like
You
YouTube shorts my way through this.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what this movie is. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing that's notable when you're watching like the Pilaf saga, is that it was made in a day and age in the 80s when content moved a lot slower, and that's fine. It's deliberate, right? It's like intentional.
Yeah, I don't know, like the new characters that were introduced in this, I don't really have any opinions on, because we don't really spend any time with the king. We don't really know anything about him. The henchmen, we don't really explore them very much, and they are just kind of gun-toting, hammer-wielding, just they're grunts, right? There's not really a ton of personality to these henchmen. And I mean, everyone else is just characters we visited before, so there's actually not a ton of new content in this for me to really even comment on.
It's pretty, I don't know. It's pretty like, I don't know that I want to say bland. It just feels like empty. Like we've used the term empty calories for like, like junk food, like action that's, fun. This just feels like there's not a lot of substance to it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, because it's been kind of difficult for me to put my finger on exactly like what the issue is here. Because like I said, nothing is offensive in here. It doesn't really do anything that wrong, but it also doesn't really do anything that right either. It's just kind of a recap, and it's not even a recap that I really need either. But it is quicker. Like if you want to get the majority of the original arc in Dragon Ball down, then to 50 minutes, then you can do that here. But that's about all I can really say.
I think the funny thing is that I would almost value this more if it were just a recap. Like if you get rid of the Blood Ruby stuff, you get rid of the King and Pansy, and you just put Pilaf back in here, and you give us like the Ozaru transformation, the Great Ape form, so that there's not that hole moving forward. I could see this as a way to be like, okay, I like somebody who's not familiar with Dragon Ball and they just kind of want to get like the quick and dirty details. They could watch this and, be caught up on the first arc and then move forward with like the tournament arc and stuff like that.
I mean, PLF does return every now and then, so they might be a little confused about who this random character is that everyone seems to kind of know, but he's not that huge of a character outside of the first arc.
Sorry, no, you're right. But what I meant was that if you put Pilaf back in here and put the Ozaru transformation back in here.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And then use it as like a condensed version or replacement for the Blood Ruby.
Yeah, I mean, just make it a recap. I'm with you right there. So that way you can just you've already seen Dragon Ball, you more or less got it. You want a refresher, this would be a great way to re-experience that. Or if you're just on a tight schedule and you got to get someone caught up on some Dragon Ball knowledge. That would be great, but it's just far off enough to where it can't be used as that. But it's not far off enough to where it offers anything unique to the Dragon Ball experience.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it fits into a very weird space, is because the new content feels pretty it's just there's not a lot of substance there. The characters, there's not a lot. The fighting, there's not a lot. Like the air fight with the big grunt guy is a cool idea. Having the soldier woman there to fight Yamcha is it's a fine idea. It plays on the tropes that we had in the time. Um, and then even having the fight with the big boss monster guy and having him having eaten the Dragon Balls, like all of these are fine ideas. There's just not, we don't know much about those characters. The action is like, it's there, but it's nothing to write home about. So probably the best thing really is what you said, is the Shenron being summoned out of a guy, and that being like a way of defeating the bad guy is probably like the best thing that we got out of this movie.
Yeah, it's something unique. It's something you can hang your hat on. And I, I don't know, Todd. Like I don't know what to really say about this movie because it's mostly just a recap, and the animation quality isn't really a step up or a step down significantly. It's all right where you would expect it to be. And like you said, it's a recap that's just far enough off to where it you still need to consume the original content so that way you're not missing out. This is one of the weirder movies I think we've watched because I don't know where I place it on my enjoyment scale, right? Like it's fine. I don't know if I'll feel compelled to watch this movie again after this. Which is kind of unfortunate. Like I would like to be able to enjoy this movie again, but it's just kind of a recap.
Yeah, I'm gonna make 2 points here that are, so it's not as egregious as Bio Broly. Like I would watch this over Bio Broly any day. Uh, but this, I mean, I know that this was made 10 years prior, but this does not need to exist when we have something like the Path to Power.
Yeah, Path of Power did everything correctly. It's a good recap and it's gorgeous, man. Like it's a work of art. It holds up to this day on the modern stuff coming out.
I love the Path to Power, man. It's so good. And it condenses down the information in a way that is like you're not missing anything, and you're getting something like, especially visually, you're getting something new and enjoyable out of rehashing that first Dragon Ball storyline.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, the all the Dragon Ball movies I enjoy the most are more or less in that vein where they take a subject and they kind of readdress, they kind of fix what they had done wrong the first, maybe not even wrong, just improved upon what they did the first time. Like I like it when they take another crack at something and they just vastly improve it. And I like that they're not afraid to revisit some of these subjects and improve upon them.
Yeah, yeah, same. I don't know that I have a lot more to say about it. This one really doesn't have a lot of substance. I mean, it's not going to waste your time. It's quick. So like if somebody wants to just see what the Curse of the Blood Ruby stuff is about, it's 50 minutes long. So I mean, give it a shot, but it's not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's a fine watch, but yeah, it's a recap. If you like the original Dragon Ball story arc, then like the Pilaf arc, you'll more or less get the same experience here. But yeah, I will. Do I give it my recommendation? I don't know, ish.
Yeah, that's kind of where I sit on it. Like maybe if you haven't seen the original Dragon Ball, like it'll give you a taste, I guess.
Or if you're just hungry for just some more Dragon Ball content, I mean, it's just something else out there for you to watch. It's not going to offend you, doesn't change anything radically. Um, yeah, this was such a weird movie to talk about, man, because we've covered all this content before, and man, maybe I need to walk into some of these movies a little less blind. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was both of our first time watching this movie. Actually, I haven't seen some of the original Dragon Ball movies, so maybe that's also part of it. Is that we've seen so much Dragon Ball content, and we've seen most of this content already. So it's like Meh.
Yeah, especially because when it's created so similarly as the original, right? Like they
Yeah.
didn't really change hardly any. Like there's some circumstantial things that are different, right? Like maybe the setting's a little different. Pansy is a new character that just happens to be there. Some of the motivations are different, but more or less the beats are the same, and there's nothing really substantially added to it. Like I don't know. How many times can I say the same thing?
Yeah, I really I don't have anything else to say about it. Honestly, I think that's going to be it for this episode of Instant Transmission, where we discuss everything Dragon Ball. This has been your host, Todd.
And Dayton.
Don't forget, we're on Patreon and Discord. If you have an insatiable hunger for Dayton and I, you can find us at patreon.com/ITDBpodcast. The Discord link will be in the episode description, but you can also find it and all of our other links at linktree/ITDBpodcast. Thank you all so much for your support. Be sure to join us next time as we create our own 5-person henchman squad.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
Oh, yeah. Dayton and I will each be selecting 3 henchmen throughout Dragon Ball, combining the 2 groups, and then deciding who is going to get the axe. So, only 5 people can make it this time, guys. Will Tambourine make the list despite his slaughtering of our favorite Baldy? Who could possibly pass up the king of the demon realm, Dabura? Or will Mai and Shu be the shining stars they were always meant to be? Find out next time. And to all our fellow Dragon Ball fans, stay safe out there, and remember to keep rocking the dragon.
So if I choose Cell Jr., do I also have to choose somebody to give birth to the Cell Jr.?
Does that mean you need a Cell Junior womb?
God, all this and more next time.